So I'm going to tell you 10 and a half tips to make sure your next presentation is the best it can be. Hey, my name is Mark Kester. I've been doing presentations both professionally and personally for 40 years. Tip number one, don't do a speech or a presentation without knowing why. What is your purpose? What message do you want to get across? That's the starting point. Without that, you're really going nowhere. So know why you're getting up, what the purpose is of your presentation. Number two, you need to be prepared. Preparation is critical, and practice. People say to me all the time, "You're so natural up there. It's like it's fluent, like you just know exactly what to say." Well, they don't know the practice that I put in. They don't know the number of times that I have done the presentation to get ready for this presentation or speech. You almost cannot practice enough. Number three, you don't want to get up on stage and be mundane about it. You need to be excited because you're delivering a message and you want your audience, the people that you're giving a presentation to, you're speaking to be as excited as you are. That comes and starts with your purpose and knowing your purpose. Let them feel your passion about the subject. That's the key. Number four, during your practice, you need to make sure that your speech or your presentation flows smoothly. You don't want it disjointed. You need to go from one to the next to the next. That comes from practice. Five, before you start, before you get up on stage or get in front of these people, this audience, you need to envision how you want them to feel when you're done. What impact do you want to leave them with? Close your eyes. Just think about it. How do I want them to feel when I'm done? That's a really important part, whether it be in business or personal. Knowing your outcome. Number six, make sure you know how much time you have. I've seen people just recently, they had a 1-hour presentation and they're done in 24 minutes. Now, that completely screws up. There was multiple presentations that day, and so now everybody sitting in the audience for half an hour with basically nothing to do, waiting for the next presenter. That's bad. Not quite as bad as going too long by, say, 5 or 10 or 15 minutes when the presenter behind you is waiting. And now everybody behind you is behind schedule. That's inconsiderate. So during your practice, time it and make sure that you are just short of the time allocated because it will commonly go longer than you think. Number seven, you need to know your audience. You need to meet your audience at the level that they're at so they understand what you're saying. You also don't want to speak over them so they don't really know what you're talking about if it's a technical presentation. You also don't want to speak below your audience. So what you're saying, they already know and is of little value to them. So make sure that you do your homework ahead of time and you know the people that you're speaking to. Number eight, people will remember what you say at the end of your speech or your presentation more than they will any other part of it typically. So make sure when you're preparing your presentation that you end it with something that will grab their attention, something that will leave them with a long-lasting impression. It could be a heartfelt message. If it's a technical presentation or a sales presentation, you would want to leave them with the benefits of what your presentation was about. And that would include how it affects them. Like, what's in it for them? How does it benefit your audience? They'll remember that. Number nine, is somebody following you after your presentation? And if you are introducing them, then now you need to know their bio, you need to know their subject, and that has to be part of your preparation and your practice. So when you're done and you've delivered your last message and it's time to introduce them, you need to do so in a way that tells the right story about them and is uplifting. So you give them a platform of positivity when they come up here. And the audience knows who they're about to listen to. and that's your responsibility. Number 10, and one of the most important pieces of advice that I offer is to understand your responsibility when you get up to give a speech or a presentation. You are responsible to deliver the message, to create that impact. You're responsible to make sure that everyone in the audience feels the message that you're delivering. That room is yours for the time that you're up there. That space, the people that you're speaking to, you own that. And you need to understand that that's your responsibility. If something's happening, if there's a disruption over here, it's your responsibility to manage that. If somebody's phone is going off, it's your responsibility to manage that. The room is yours to make the impact that you came there for. 10 and a half. And this is the best one. It's about being different. You want to be different than the rest. I know when I started out, I was the same. I got up and I did my presentation and I covered a bunch of technical information, went down through a checklist of what I was supposed to say. But it didn't take me long to realize that I was the same as everybody else. And it's what people expected. And then one day I asked some questions and I threw some chocolates out to the audience. And they loved it because it broke things up. Sometimes I'd have a bad throw, and that made me human. Now I'm just like them. And then I realized telling stories to break it up. They don't have to be long stories, but stories that had something to do with life, something that they could identify with. Especially critical if it's a technical presentation. Break it up with a story or two that the audience can feel. That makes you different. And I would always end with a story that had meaning, that meant something about life. And people always remembered that. And they would always come back because of that. Because they knew when I was presenting that I was going to be different. That hour or 2 hours or half an hour was going to go by quicker. And they were going to enjoy themselves. And that made me different. And that brought amazing success. So be different. Be yourself. And have fun.